All right. So, good afternoon once again to our guests. If this is your first time, welcome to Luz Auditorium. Welcome to Cinnamon University. And so, the first part of our talk interview is like general questions so that our students and perhaps aspiring professionals like you will have an idea of your perspectives, of your experience, and your journey as professionals now, and of course students then. Okay, so let's begin. And this question refers to all of you. So let me ask you first. So how does your job help our society, do you think? So this is a very broad question, but perhaps, yeah, I want to know. Yes, attorney, go ahead. It's okay. It's for all.
Okay, so I'm a lawyer, and so basically what I do is practice the legal profession, right? So in the practice of legal profession, we're talking about the application of laws, the preservation of rights, the protection of rights. And because the law is so pervasive that it applies to practically everything, it provides a system for, it provides structure for the Philippines, for the society. So if there are no lawyers who protect your rights, there would be anarchy actually. So every day, my work involves dealing with protection of rights and analysis of the law and ensuring that my clients' rights are protected. So I guess that's how I help people.
Thank you, attorney. Yes. Yes, doctor.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Felix Vinci, and I'm an aesthetic doctor. So in the world of aesthetics, we unearth dormant confidence, and we enhance assets that are already there, and those that are yet to be revealed. So actually, upcoming Valentine's Day, with or without the day, you put yourself first, your inward perspective. Because I don't know if you've heard, self-love or self-care is now a priority.
Hey everyone!
It's the weekend, the most uploaded.
My work
Vamos a upload it.
helps people and communities in two ways. Because as a content creator, I help promote local establishments become more visible. And as an HR professional, I also help create positive workplace for our employees where they will feel safe and supported. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, I come here to represent basically two career paths. First and foremost, obviously, as an aviator, as a pilot, and more importantly, as an educator. So, it is quite unique how my career path has evolved into teaching how to fly. So, as an instructor, basically my role in the community is to create the new generation of pilots in the world. And I know that you have probably seen the world evolving into a place filled with AI and all this automated industries and careers. But to be honest, one of the things that I always tell my students is that nothing can replace the human factor inside the cockpit. And I believe that this is one of those careers that cannot just be replaced by a computer or by AI. I mean, AI right now is so advanced that most of us don't really understand how powerful it is. In fact, as the host has mentioned a while ago, I'm also an operations manager for a digital company, and We work a lot with AI. Even for myself, I still am quite amazed at how much AI has evolved over the years. And what I've done for our community so far is to make sure that this new generation of pilots that are going to come into our industry in the future, and I'm talking about not just the pilots that are within the 20s or in the 30s. We have a lot of students who are pretty much at around your age. In fact, a lot of our students start their careers at around 17 to 18 years old. They start their training, and I want this new generation to understand that aside from learning how to just operate an aircraft, they have to learn the skills that come with it. Because operating an aircraft is not as easy as just pressing some buttons and looking fancy in a uniform, but it also involves a lot of responsibility. Because as a pilot, one of the greatest lessons I've learned growing up and getting into this career is that we all have to be responsible of the people who are with us in our aircraft, and for my particular line of work, I'm responsible for the lives of my students, because if I do not teach them well, then eventually they will not have the skills to be able to survive in a very dangerous but exciting industry. Thank you.
Grade 9 and grade 10 students. Okay, I am a criminology instructor. So of course I help shape future law enforcers. And I think that's it. Thank you.
I would like to speak for 2 engineering disciplines and 3 career paths, because that's what I have been doing. First, when I finished my mechanical engineering, I was connected with Jack's company, brass metal company in Maps. But after working for around 7 years, I think there's still more that I can do. That's why I was able to bridge that into marine engineering under a full scholarship. Okay? So everything was free now. We moved goods around the world. Our trade was worldwide. So not everything is being shipped through air. That would be very expensive. What we have right now, from everything from monthly to shoe to construction supplies, is being moved by vessels. And these are very important trades in our society. And of course, after that, serving for 2017, 16 to 2008 to 2016, I decided to be with the Negros Maritime. That is where I find my 3rd career in station. And currently, it's like if you are in the industry, you're shaping, or if you're in a marine vessel, you're shaping actually your ratings down up to the officer's level. And that will be the same thing as what we are doing in school, shaping our students to become aspiring officers and board. So, for these aspiring students that I have in front of me, choose wisely. Okay, the recipe for success is not a straight line. You have to keep moving, and if you choose to shift from one course to another, that's fine, because as long as you're not doing it.
I forgot that I'm also a nurse. So I was talking about me being a lawyer earlier, and for those who want to become nurses, nurses are very, very important. I want to speak out for that. In hospital settings, not even just in hospital settings, in community settings, the nurses are actually the first line, if we may say so. The nurses are the first line of defense. Because if you remember the COVID situation, the first persons who we will be talking to are actually nurses. If you go to the hospitals, the persons who are going to assess you are your nurses. And the persons who actually can talk to first in the morning, it's not actually the doctors. They are the nurses. So the nurses are your first line of defense. And we care for our patients, and to be there with the patients who are sick, that means so much to the patients. So whoever wants to become a nurse, you have to have the heart there. So that's how I think the nurses are helping the people of the society. Thank you.
being a law enforcer, of course, being a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Criminology, you can enter lots of, you can be a police officer, you can be a jail officer, you can be a fire officer, and also you can be in academia. You can be an instructors, professors, or a reviewers from review centers. Thank you.
Alright. So the first round was fun. And I hope that the answers and the sharing of our speakers here have already piqued your interest sa pag-view ng akong waon sa senior high school and college. And so let's now go to the next question. And I'm very interested as well, especially with this one. Now, I want to know, what do you think are the skills and values that are most important in your profession? Because skills and values are very important, and I believe our grade 9 students are already thinking about aligning their skills and values with the profession that they will be taking in the future. Anybody can answer? Yes.
I would say attitude is of equal importance as knowledge. If you have the right attitude, you have a long way to go. Now, in the field of engineering, it's more likely your hands are going to be better. Now, breakdowns occur, you don't know what happens, especially when you're dealing with machineries. And the most important, in parallel with knowledge, is for you to be able to understand how things works. Is for you to be able to understand also your coworkers. Because in a word, teamwork, there's no letter I. Okay? Wala ako. It's always a teamwork. It's always a team. No? So you have to work with other people for you to have a successful job, successful career. You won't be there without those people under you who are supporting you. So you have, whenever you rise, don't forget about it.
Yes, thank you so much. And what Engineer Orlina said, that is why in your outputs, in your performance tasks, you're always grouped together because we want you to value teamwork and cooperation. Maski you don't like a person, or perhaps that person isn't cooperating well, so you really have to still work with them. Because in reality, as Engineer Orlina mentioned earlier, you will be working with diverse group of people. So thank you for that insight, Engineer Orlina. Anything else from our other speakers? What skills, what values? Yes, Captain?
Yeah, I totally agree with Engineer Orlina on the point on attitude. In aviation, we have this saying that attitude comes before altitude. And what that actually means in a non-technical term is that in order for you to reach greater heights, you must have the proper attitude. Now, in a career in aviation or in any career, I would say, a lot of attitude is a really big factor because it shapes how you're going to, how you're going to be able to manage what is being given to you, whatever task is being given to you. At a young age, if you feel like you cannot handle the workload that is being given in school, trust me, I'm sure that you've heard this a lot from your teachers and from your parents that it's only going to get worse. So if you can learn how to manage that workload now at a young age, that is going to help you propel your career to greater heights. Now, specifically in aviation, what that does is when you are put in a situation with a lot of workload, I mean, what you guys see from pilot videos and whatnot, or in movies, is it's just a bunch of buttons that we're pressing. But the thing is, there's way more to that, in the sense that there's a lot of decision making that comes along. In almost every career, whether it's in the field of maritime or in the medical field, there's a lot of these decisions. There's quick decisions that we have to make. And I know that some of you guys right now probably that's one of the things that you're really struggling with, right? Even just deciding where to eat for dinner, that's sometimes already a struggle, right? This is why we have the content man to help us out decide where we're supposed to eat now. But that's the thing. you know, we have to learn how to make those decisions. When we want to do something with our lives, we have to make that decision and say, yeah, I'll do that. And you have to have the attitude to be able to get through whatever challenges might be in front of you. And when it comes to attitude as well, it's not just about your attitude towards yourself, but your attitude towards the people around you, the people who you're working with. And as they mentioned, when you're working in your modules or your lessons and you're working with other people, that is true. That it's not all the time that you're going to be working with people that you agree with. It's not always going to be in the case that you're going to be working alone where you're the one who's in charge and you can make all the decisions and all the calls. There will always be someone you're going to be working with. And you have to understand that sometimes two heads are always better than one head, right? And you have to always, the last thing I want to add to that is never stop learning, because as we grow old, I mean, all of the panelists in front of you right now, we can all agree that right now we feel like we knew more when we were in your age than we do now. And as you get older, you realize it's how you realize how much you actually don't know and how much you really want to learn even more. So even for us, we may have reached certain heights in our careers, but at the end of the day, there's always that next thing to learn. There's always something to learn or relearn.
Thank you so much. Music is continuous, so you should not stop learning, and you should pursue more and learn more, especially when you finish college, no? Okay, now let's have some more. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as a content creator, I think creativity is very important because it will be very useful when you do storytelling and your presentation. And then communication is also important because you will be engaging with your audiences, with your viewers, and of course with your clients and the brands that you will be working with. And then basic editing, photography or video. And then for the values, you should have a purpose. You should have a purpose because it will keep you grounded. It will keep you grounded beyond the followers, the likes, and the views. And most importantly, I also value authenticity. You should be authentic. You should be authentic because it will help you build trust with your viewers, with your followers, and of course with your clients.
Okay, great tips from Ms. Vanessa. So, for those aspiring creators who would like to be Ms. Patula, so you can take notes, alright? So then we expect also that you will be sharing some information, especially with your life and with your endeavors. So, yes, Doc.
So yes, I would like to agree with Ma'am, because me and together with my creatives team, all the reels that we make, I actually supported and direct them because I also have a heart for everything basically in life. And then also with Sir, because the best teachers actually never stop being students. As with all professions, we really want to ask questions because there's so much in life that we need to learn, and you cannot really learn even if you are a professional in a master's degree, a graduate of Harvard. Now, as a doctor, it would entail a huge chunk of your life, and I would want to share the 4 quotients in life. So maybe you are well aware of just one quotient, that is the IQ or intelligence quotient. However, there are others. So we have the emotional quotient, the social quotient, and adversity quotient. Many are those who are high in IQ, but more often than not, they get depressed easily because their emotional quotient or EQ is very low. And so we must fulfill those to be a holistic individual to become a doctor because it would own you and your time. And a perfect example is that we reside in a hospital. We are in a 36-hour duty, yes. So 3 or 4 shifts of nurses. But come here, we haven't even washed our faces. because we still have to debuckle endorsements, we still have to monitor patients. One example, if there's a dengue patient, we have to monitor the vital signs every few 15 minutes, so every 15 minutes. So it would take a whole lot of you. And one thing that would make you survive a tunnel of medicine would be to fulfill the quotients that I've discussed, and also tenacity. Remember your vision, your passion, and why you started, and stand ground to your decision. Because sometimes your stress will be piled high, stress will be monumental, and you would feel quit. I know a lot of others who did not finish medicine, so it would take a huge chunk of you and strong attitude also, as what Sir said. And yes, it's not just a plain answer of what will you be when you grow up. I want to be a doctor. It's not as simple as that. So you have to really ask yourself multiple times actually why, and only you can answer that. Thank you.
What are you so passionate about? Because that will be your driving force, that despite the struggles, despite the debacles that you will be facing later on, you will always go back to your passion. So thank you. Anything else? Or yes, attorney.
In relation to the monitoring and 3 minutes, in the practice of nursing, you have to have the heart for caring and for service, because it's going to be not exactly 36 hours, but we will still be at the hospital and we will be monitoring patients. Those who are taking the 15-minute vital signs are actually the nurses. So imagine when I was at the Negros Oriental Provincial Hospital, I was at the ward. It was 2 nurses and we had 60 patients. And that was the ratio back then, I don't know now. But could you imagine if you do not have the heart, you will be leaping and running. So that's insofar as, yes, and critical thinking as well. Because you are dealing with lives insofar as nurses are concerned. We are dealing with lives also insofar as lawyers are concerned, but it's more immediate insofar as healthcare is concerned. So you have to be on your feet because lives matter. So if you are not thinking well, people could die. Yeah. Insofar as the law is concerned, you have to be able to analyze things well. You have to have logic, and again, you have to love what you're doing. Because the study of law, like medicine, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be very long. Especially, you're reading like so many books, and it's not just memorizing, it's understanding. And could you imagine taking the bar exams? All of that will be there. So you have to understand. You have to be able to have that comprehension. It's not just about memorizing, but it's about comprehension. And you have to be able to communicate. Because what use is there for the things in your mind if you're not able to communicate it? Especially if you have judges there. So if you're not moving there, you're not telling the judges what your case is, you're gonna lose. So that matters. And never mind. There's someone else who wants to speak.
Yes. Yes, thank you, attorney. It's very important as well, as pointed out by Attorney Cuevas earlier, that regardless of your profession, may it be in the medical field or in the law services, heart and mind are very important. The intellect and the will, rated students, right? Okay, so let's have Ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
I agree with you, attorney. Understanding is very important, especially in criminology, because in criminology we study 6 areas, okay? And those 6 areas we have sub areas, so there's a lot of things to study. And at the same time, being a criminology, let's say for example, being a criminology student, you have your mind and body must working together. It's because for the trainings, the study, and aside from that, understanding is very essential also, for the reason that let's say for example, me, I am an instructor, and I have to deal with different students with different attitude, and I think that is kind of hard, and I love what I do, so I think it's carry lang. So that's it.
Yes, if you really love your work, if you really love your job, maski kung sa na, carry lang yun, as
Carry
pointed
lang
out
yun.
by Ma'am Diaz. Thank you so much. And for our next question, I'm very interested with your insights on this, because since Dr. Tan earlier mentioned about handling stress, pressure at work, so perhaps how can we help our students, especially at their age, how to handle these stress, this pressure, depression? I think depression was also mentioned earlier. So what do you think? Have you experienced also when you were in as a student and until now? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, all I can say is that you pray. Pray is very important. That's it. Because I have experienced like almost no, anxiety, depression. It's hard, and I think it's you yourself. You can help yourself. There's no other people that can or will help yourself. Ikaw lang yun mismo. So I think you should pray and have God be the center of your life.
Yes, indeed. Faith matters, especially at the age where we experience and it's good that we in Cinemas, we have church activities, we have faith nurturing activities. So thank you so much, ma'am, for reminding us. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's not just only when you're still a student that has to go through the entire your lifetime. It's going to help you because it's not just being a student that's a challenge. It's actually in the profession already. It's even more demanding. So you have, I agree, you have to have love. You have to be centered on that. But in addition, so that you won't have so much stress, you have to learn how to manage your time and your work. So it's important to have time for yourself, time for leisure. You can watch Netflix, you can listen to music, but you have to manage it because your obligations are still going to be there. So you have to do your obligations first and do the leisure after. So spend time for yourself.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to discuss more of how stress would originate in a scientific background. So in psychology, our mind retreats back or recoils if the stress is so monumental that you cannot handle, that you retreat into doom scrolling as a result. So, and also these are things, stress would balloon if there are tasks that are piled high, that are not done, and then procrastination, anxiety comes in, doom scrolling, and then what you get is tomorrow's another day, and you begin it with the tasks that are undone from yesterday, or and more. And then it's a vicious cycle. So what you do and what I suggest is that you make a time bracket, an efficient time management is what the term said. So divide it with the AM and PM, and as much as possible, you do not bring, I do not bring work at home, but for you, you have your assignments, your projects, your extracurriculars and whatnot. So I suggest that you do the easier ones. That way you trick your mind that you already take lots of your tasks done. And then you superhead, if you are in your most attentive state, you superhead and you solve the hardest ones. Okay, and because right now maybe you are so swamped with things to do and you end up doom scrolling with the local and national TikTok, you have your Epstein files, CD5, you have your CD5, Back of Blue, the Super Bowl, your GCs, probably with a written statement intramural, well, who knows? So who knows, those are the things that you would resolve into laziness and then you've got more tasks left undone. So time management is crucial and start with the easiest first and then don't actually hesitate to ask help. That I think is a good factor in. Because, I mean, if your seatmate, if your classmate, or whoever can help you with this one, you can do that more efficiently and faster. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And time management is very important. And another thing is prioritizing what's important. As for me, I work as an HR professional in the morning. And so during those times, I start my work. So let me just share you out. So during the morning, around 6 a.m., I work as an HR professional. So I work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. So my focus really would be my HR work, paperwork, coordinating with my teams, policies, and all. And then after that, in the afternoon, I take a short break, maybe an hour, and then I then focus on my content creation side. I go out, I shoot, I film, I eat, and eat. In the afternoon until the evening, and then in the evening before I sleep, I edit my videos, I do my voiceover. So it's not easy. So time management and prioritizing the task. And one thing I would also like to share, create a calendar, a habit. And then, check it like once you wake up, you check what should I do today. So yeah, so I think that would, that would help you avoid stress.
Yes,
Thank
two
you.
things I can take from Ma'am Dapuya's point earlier, that you have to manage your time and eat. So that's very important as well. And I think we have to acknowledge that in this generation, and perhaps you can also join their generation, that we are too overwhelmed with the social media algorithms, right? As what mentioned by Dr. Earlier. So I hope that we should also, I will borrow this Gen Z term, na touch some grass. It means that you have to go out of your social media world and face real people. Okay? So that's why it's also important that you have to have a conversation with your friends, classmates, and just don't to rely on your social media. Okay? So how about you, Captain?
Yeah, I think it's quite hard to touch some grass when you cross a reel about Balmapua at 1 a.m. I think we all agree. Everybody here doom scrolls, right? You'd be surprised. Pretty much, we also do that at our age. It's something that's that's what society has evolved into. We're very hooked into our phones. But it's a very good point of time management. And the thing is, sometimes, I hear a lot of my students, they would be complaining like, oh, Captain, I wasn't able to study because I was busy with this, I was busy with that, I was doing this, I was doing that. Right now, where you're sitting, excuses are still allowed because, you're still young, you're still learning all of these things, but when you get to the real world, those excuses don't hold water anymore. And when the earlier you realize that your excuses are just holding you back, you learn to grow much quicker. And what I mean by using these excuses is like, yeah, your excuses may be valid. I'm not saying that whatever excuses you're giving are not valid. They may be valid for you or for your situation, but there are certain things that you need to do, right? There are things that are non-negotiable. And when you get to your full professional life, there will be a lot of these things every day, right? And you have to learn to be able to manage your time in such a way where you can still enjoy, when you can still doom scroll and look for the next, the next funny video or the next funny reel. But at the same time, understanding that, okay, within this next hour, I must be able to accomplish something still. I still have to do this or I have to do that. And just to share quickly with everyone, when I was studying to become a pilot, I didn't study to become a pilot at a young age. I started when I was 25, and it was like a quarter life crisis kind of thing. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I was quite confused. I was working different jobs. I was working mainly in marketing, and then I wanted to become a pilot, but then I couldn't leave my job because obviously if I leave my job, I still need to pay the bills. So I would be working at night and I would be flying in the morning, and I would never have excuses. When I was working for PMFTC before, I was handling the whole island of Negros. So I would be traveling to Bacolod, back to Dumaguete. I would travel Bacolod and Dumaguete at least twice a month, twice a week at least. And that's because maybe I would have a flight tomorrow, I have a meeting tonight in Bacolod at 8 o'clock. After the meeting, I just ride my car, drive back to Dumaguete. In the morning, I would fly again, take a shower at home, drive back to Bacolod because I need to do something. Now, we can always make an excuse and say, oh, it's tiring, oh, kapoy, like, layo kayo, I wanna rest for my mental health and whatnot. Yes, mental health is important, but you realize what a lot of people don't realize is by doing something, you're actually doing some more for your mental health than it is to lie down and do nothing. Because these small wins, these small things that we achieve in life, no matter how small they are, never let anyone tell you that a win is not a win. You know, for you, if you were able to achieve something, you were able to become better than yourself from yesterday. Like you were able to, let's say today you were able to do one push-up. Right? Let's talk about that. You were able to do one push-up today, and then people are going to call you, hey, you only do one push-up. What if tomorrow you can do 2? And what if the next day you can do 3? And then move on and move on. Now imagine if you do +1 each day, within a year you can do 365 push-ups in a day. Now, that's an exaggeration, but you do what you did with that.
It's always progression.
Every time you do forward. The moment you stop, you're just gonna stop your growth. And you just gotta keep going. Carry on that.
Yeah, thank you, and sir.
Yeah, allow me to speak in the perspective of maritime industry. For those who see themselves working in a vessel, is there anyone who envisions themselves working in a vessel? Now, in a cargo vessel, your voyage will sometimes last for around 3 months, especially when you transit from Russia down to Cape Town, South Africa, and South Asia. That is around 3 months. And after you work 8 to 5, there's the rolling sun. You're on the vessel. What you see is the sea and your ship. So mental health on board a seagoing vessel, international waters, is so important. And it's always a huge issue nowadays that stress, controlling stress, managing stress on board ship is so important because if you can do that, no, we always see the news that some of them go jump ship, they get overboard. That's when they weren't able to manage the stress. And how we're going to do that is that there are people around you. As I've said, you have to talk with people around you. Communication is so important, especially if you work with different types of people or different nationalities, not types, nationalities. You should know how to communicate with them. You should know how to handle different types of attitude, and you should know when and when not to react on situations which may harm you. Okay? So it's so important that you have to manage your stress, and if there are problems, talk it out. Because communication is the key. If you keep it to yourself, then you are actually harming yourself.
And it's great that share, what's inside of you, right? And it's very important that we have further insights in managing stress, anxiety, and depression. So I will now shift my question to this. Now I'm interested, and perhaps they're also interested, our distinguished guests, if ever in the many years of your profession, in the profession that you are right now, have you ever made a mistake or failure? And if yes, how did it help you as who you are now? Yes, Captain.
Okay, if I've ever made any mistakes, a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, not just in my career, but ever since when I was a student. You know, I wouldn't call myself like the top grade student. I mean, I have some former teachers here who probably will agree with me on that. I was never really, you know, I was good, but I was always, you know, just on the edge because I was kind of always thinking that, you know, like kapoy study, kapoy this, kapoy that. I was always complaining about, I was a chronic complainer about everything, you know. And what I did realize is like, you know, when I was in school, when I was your age, and eventually when I got to college, I would make a mistake and I would feel bad about it, and I'd feel like it's the end of the world. And then I make another mistake that's much worse than the last one, and then you make a worse mistake, and then a worse mistake. And then what I realized is that the more mistakes I made, the stronger I became. I know it sounds cliche, that the mistakes that we make are only going to make us stronger, but it's actually true. I mean, when I was when I took up aviation as my career path, I failed a lot of my exams. Okay, I'll be very honest about that. What usually takes a student about a year and a half to complete, and our program is usually about a year and a half. It took me about 4 years because I was failing subjects. I would have to get off of flying for about a half a year because I focused on work. And there were a lot of times where I almost gave up, right? And the best thing that I had as a weapon to help me push through was, number one, of course, was prayer, and of course, my friends, my colleagues, my family, the people around me, my workmates, everyone around me. And as an engineer, and everybody has mentioned a while ago, you have to communicate. Communication is a very important thing. When it comes to flying an aircraft, one of the very important routines that I make right before I ride the plane, right before I sit on the plane with my student, I always ask my student, how was your day? I always ask my student, how are you doing? How are you feeling? The moment that my student gives me any sign that he's not fit to fly, whether he's going to be like, oh, I'm feeling, my girlfriend broke up with me, but I'm okay. That's a true story. I've had a student tell me that right before our flight, and I told my student, are you sure you want to fly? Right? Are you sure you still want to do this? Because some of us, we feel like, okay, the problems that we have, makahulaw, which he shares sa akong mga friends, or mahulaw, she shares sa akong parents. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm almost in my mid-30s, and I still talk to my parents. And I still cry in front of my parents. I still share things with my parents that, a lot of you guys are afraid to do. And what I realize is that when you're still able to talk and communicate with your parents, your family, your siblings, your friends, your partners, and who not, even your teachers, right? I have students who would share their deepest pains with me, and the moment that you say it, the moment that you're able to express it, the first initial feeling while you're talking is you're gonna feel that shame. Makahulaw tayo na I'm saying this. But then after you say that, you will realize that most of the people that you talk to, that you confide with, they're not even gonna react negatively. The people who react negatively to the things that you would say are actually the people who don't really matter to you. But the people who are close to you, the people who actually, who love you and give you that care, these are people who are going to listen, and they're just going to be, sometimes they would give you advice, sometimes they're just going to sit there and listen, right? And sometimes, no, actually most of the time, that's what we need. When we learn to communicate, and as engineers mentioned, I can just imagine, and that never crossed my mind that I wanted to be on a ship for 3 months. Imagine you're in a ship for 3 months. The only thing you see is the sea in your boat. Like you would work from 8 to 5, but then after that, you're still there. There's no escaping it, you're over there. So learning to communicate and learning to live with yourself and to talk and to communicate with the people around you, that is a very underrated skill in today's world. So if there's one piece of advice I would give you as well, learn to talk. Work on your social skills. Work on being able to communicate. You think that we're here sitting and confident that we're used to talking to a crowd like this? I mean, most of us probably are, even myself. Before coming on stage, I was also a little bit, intimidated. This is my first time to speak in this auditorium. So if you feel like you'd be scared sitting here, imagine what I'm feeling right now. I have to speak to you guys, right? I have to impart knowledge of you guys. So there's so much pressure. But then the thing is, us panelists here, we came here for a mission. We're here to impart that knowledge. So we have a mission to accomplish, and that's what we're doing right now, regardless of the fear and that doubt that we have inside.
Thank you, Patrick. And I agree with Patrick when he said earlier that before you start your day, you always have to ask yourself and other people, how was your day? Okay, or how are you doing right now? Okay, because this sets the mood, this sets the tone of your day. So it's very important to ask yourselves and ask your friends and classmates. Hey, thank you so much, Captain. Anybody else who would like to add to that? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I agree, Captain. I just want to add that aside from communication, you also have to learn how to listen. It's very important. As for my mistake, actually, when we started It's the Weekend, we have a goal with my husband to, to help promote local businesses. And then sometimes, kahit kumulo, sa hindi ko maminaw. So that's why, it's very important na, for example, when I shoot or when I film, there are times that I get angry because my husband is my director sometimes. So he's the one telling me, oh, you do this, you do like that, or bakit di ko pagkaon? Something anana. So sometimes I get angry, and then it's for all of you. I mean, everyone can see me, diba? So in social media, and then sometimes it's important that you listen as well. Feedback. You learn how to accept feedback, and it will help you grow. Yeah, and improve as well.
Failures help us grow and develop, right? So it's very important also to make mistakes and learn from it, okay? Yes, Doctor.
So I had a client, I believe, coming from Wisconsin, and one of my mistakes was that she wanted to get a Botox redone. And it was done prematurely because she had to catch a flight. So usually Botox would last 4 to 6 months, and then this for a certain brand would take twice longer. And then that was still 6 weeks. And so I just modified the amount of it, but still I could have said no. And starting then, I am learning to say no. Saying no is actually applicable to all walks of life, and it is very, very helpful. So right now, when a client comes to me and they wanted a chin projection to make a stronger look, have the height of the tip of the nose revised. So I would see it as a whole, actually, because at Vinci we have a slogan that every client is a masterpiece, and your face is actually a blank canvas, and me as your sculptor. So if I see it unfit, that is not really reaching the facial harmony, then I would decline the request of the client. Because it's not all about money, actually. It's all about if you needed that. You may want that, but you don't need that. And I'll give you a certain trick right now, an icebreaker, by the way. So the Ricketts E-line, if you can do a side view, so the tip of the nose and your menton here, if you have a ruler, yes, your upper lip should be 4 millimeters behind that line, and your lower lip should be behind by 2 millimeters. That is aesthetically pleasing facial harmony. So, did you get that? Okay. I'm so sorry. This is actually used in orthodontics, but this is also one of my guiding lights for making, for medical aesthetics. So again, yes, you do it here if you have a ruler, so the tip of the nose and your menton, and then do not overpout your lips, just as so, regular lips, and then the upper lip should be behind by 4 millimeters. Yes, we're talking about millimeters, not centimeters, okay? Everything has to be accurate, and then the lower lip should be behind 2 millimeters. So if one client would say, I wanted my chin done, and when I measure it and when I see it's not fit, then I decline. So again, learning from that experience, I have learned to say no. And no is really important. And just, for example, for the girls here, if you have your monthly flare of acne, and then you have your microneedle prematurely before 4 weeks, that could contribute actually to a worse skin condition. If you have a monthly revisit of your acne and then you have premature sessions of microneedling, that can cause breakage and disseminating basically the skin barrier. because the regular adult skin turnover is 28 to 29 days. So you should not do it prematurely. So everything, I've learned to do everything in accordance with its number of sessions and its gap. And also, with those having acne, so it's never really treated, but it is just managed. So again, the takeaway here is learn to say no, and actually just, when I see it, you have to have a very good clinical eye. Again, even if the client wants this, he or she may not need this.
Yes, that's very wonderful and interesting to hear something medical aesthetics from Dr. Almeda. And yes, the key takeaway from what he said, that it's okay to say no because it will make more mistakes if you will say yes and then leave it higher, right? Especially students, which our students from junior high school are very competitive, very excellent in what they do, that sometimes they want to say yes all the time. But then, as pointed out by Dr. Erneta, we have to say no sometimes, right? Okay, so next one. Yes, ma'am.
Of course, I am a human. I make mistakes. So, let me tell you, there are good mistakes. There are good mistakes. So, for example, according to Doc, he told us, you have the right to say no. So, let's say, for example, para ninyo, no, insakto. But for the other people, dili mao. Then again, I am just a human, and mistake molds me of who I am today. And again, every day is a learning day, so every day we make mistakes. And that mistake will shape us into a better person. That is all.
Yes, I agree with Ma'am Diaz that mistakes are inevitable, it happens every day, we are not perfect, we are human, so the best thing to do is that learn from it and never do it again as much as possible, right? Thank you, Paul. Yes, engineer.
Yes, in engineering practice, procrastination, it happens when, in my experience, I delay maintenance of a certain machinery and only to know that the following day we're going to need it. So it's a total failure, it's a domino effect. No? So what I learned from that is that if you can do things right now, do it. Okay? Because tomorrow, you might need that. So what I learned from that experience and the following maintenance plan, I always follow that. Because you don't know what happens next. So you might be sailing on a very calm waters and hour or two right now is going to be something different, which is total opposite. It's a day and night. So you have to do things right away if you can do it. So that is something that you should practice also.
Thank you. Yes.
And if you want to become a litigation attorney, you have to have a thick face. Yes. Okay, you have to understand this. When you're studying law, you'll be reading books, a lot of books, but you will not find it there, all of the practice. You cannot learn from there how to practice. Because, for example, you become a lawyer, there's a dot in that attorney already, so you can practice the law. You can appear before judges. But what is not taught is what you're going to say in front of the judge. Because there are procedures, fine, there are procedures. But how you're going to tell the judge, because you will be shocked, the judge might tell you, oh, you do not know this? Have you studied your law, your rules? If you're gonna cry, you might as well forget it. Because you have to come back the following day, the following day, the following day. You have to keep on appearing. So you cannot keep on crying. Don't take it personally. It's not your cases. You are supposed to defend your rights, your client's rights seriously, but don't take it too much personally. So you have to learn that. I learned that the hard way. But there are others I know of who cried after being scolded. Ayaw mo disheartened or not, because it's a natural progression path. So eventually you will be as thick-faced as I am. So then you become, that is the practice, and soon enough you will become the company. That's how you're hoping to learn. You just show up every day. But then again, you have to study because the law is ever evolving. So you have to be up to date. Because if you don't, then the judge will keep scolding you every time. Okay? So, on my end, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Key takeaway from attorney, dapat for aspiring lawyers here, dapat baga of the womb.